I was just 6 years old when my father vanished. One moment he was in the living room, promising me ice cream for cleaning my toys. The next, he was gone. No note, no goodbye, no explanation, just an air, emptiness that swallowed the house like a black hole. For years, I clung to the idea that maybe he was no some heroic journey, that he had returned like in the movies, with open arms and a box of my favorite chocolate chip cookies. But childhood was a cruel way of aging you quickly when abandonment plants itself in your chest. By the time I returned 10, I had stopped asking about him. My mother, who once glowed with laughter, now worked triple shift just to feed me and my baby brother, Daniel. And yet, she never said a bad word about him. That silence screamed louder than any insult. Years passed. I grew up watching my friends hug their dads at school pickups, post silly Father's Day pics, and walk down the aisle on their wedding day to their father's arm. I had no such man, just a fading memory and 100 unanswered questions. Until the day he came back, 20 years later, and the reason why. It was darker than anything I could have imagined. It was an ordinary Tuesday. I was working at my home office when the doorbell rang. Daniel opened the door and I heard it before I saw. Hello, I am your father. That voice. The same voice that used to read me bedtime stories, except now it sounded older, emptier. I rushed out, and there he stood. Grey hair, wrinkled hands, same piercing brown eyes, a stranger in my doorway, and yet familiar. My face clenched, my stomach dropped. Why? I asked. That one word, why, held 2 decades of pain. I was scared. I was not ready to be a father, he said quietly. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because the honesty of that accuse was unbearable. He wanted to meet us, reconnect, said he was remorseful, wanted to make amends. But something in his voice, in his eyes, told me he was not just here for closure. I started digging. With my background in digital marketing, I knew how to look people up, but I did not expect to uncover what I did. Turns out, my father had not disappeared into obscurity. He had started a whole new life, new wife, 2 daughters, big house in a wealthy neighborhood. He ran a chain of pharmacies, pictures of beach vacations, private schools, and lavish Christmases. My heart broke all over again. He had lived off canned soup and thrift store clothes while he played family man elsewhere. But it was not just that, it was why he came back now. His business was failing. He was being sued for medical fraud, and the only property that had not been seized yet was the old house that still had my mother's name on it. He needed us, financially. He did not come back out of guilt. He came back because he had nowhere else to go. The memories came flooding in. All the birthdays he missed. The night I cried myself to sleep holding a crayon drawing labeled me and my daddy. I remembered how I used to watch from the window, hoping every car that slowed down was him. Daniel, now 23, was furious. He does not get to walk back into our lives like he never left. But my mother, she stayed calm. Let karma deal with him, she whispered. Except I didn't want karma, I wanted justice. I invited him to stay at our house for a few days. Daniel thought I was crazy, but I needed him close, needed to know exactly what his game was. He fell right into the trap. Told me he needed my signature on an old house deed to transfer, some technical ownership. Said it would help him pay off debt and avoid foreclosure. I played along. While he was with us, I recorded conversations, I made copies of all documents he brought, I consulted a lawyer friend. Turns out he wanted to transfer the house into his name and then sell it to pay off his debts. My childhood home, my mother's blood, and sweet. He wanted to steal that too. So I let him think he won. We filled the fake deed, and then I pulled the plug. I exposed him. Every lie, every forget document, every bit of manipulation sent it to his current wife, his daughters, his business partners, even the fraud investigation team. He was slapped with new charges. His other family abandoned him. His accounts were frozen, and the cherry on top, the house, our house, was donated to a women's shelter organization under my mother's name. He could not touch it ever. He came to beg. On his knees. I have nothing, he cried. I looked him in the eyes. That's exactly what you left me with 20 years ago. I closed the door. We held a small celebration at the old house. My mom, Daniel, and I painted the porch. We laughed for the first time in years. Not because he suffered, but because he survived. I felt free. Sometimes I still hear his voice, not out loud, but in the corner of my memory. But now I answer back. I am not your little girl anymore. This say forgiveness is for you, not the person who wronged you. Maybe, but for me, accountability was even more powerful. This story is not just about a father who abandoned his family. It's about what happens when the people we're supposed to trust to most turn into strangers, and how healing does not always come from reuniting. It comes from reclaiming your story. To every woman who has been left behind, made to feel unworthy, or manipulated into silence, you are not alone. Your pain matters. Your voice matters. And your revenge does not have to be loud. It just has to be smart. So if this story touched you, share it, speak up, let the world know. We break, but we rise stronger. Leave a comment if you have ever been through something similar. Subscribe for more powerful stories of truth and healing.